All right, welcome to this explainer. So, you might be wondering, how does a multi-million dollar heist actually go down today without a single physical vault being cracked or, a single alarm bell ringing? Well, today we are completely dissecting the terrifying anatomy of a highly sophisticated, completely modern cryptocurrency heist. It is a fascinating yet honestly chilling look at how an old school fraud trick has completely evolved for the blockchain era. This deep dive is brought to you by gocrypto.org, and trust me on this one, you are absolutely going to want to pay close attention to how this all works. But before we really get into the weeds on the mechanics of this heist, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, gocrypto.org. They're a 501c3 nonprofit operating with a truly critical mission, advancing digital financial literacy, preventing crypto scams, and providing absolutely crucial services for victims of fraud. As we're going to see today, education is literally your best defense, and GoCrypto is right there at the forefront providing those exact resources. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover an introduction to the threat, dive into the digital rip deal, walk through the 4 stages of the heist, figure out spotting the red flags, and then wrap up with Go Crypto Victim Services. Let's kick things off with part 1, Introduction to the Threat. Take a look at this insight from industry expert Steven Sargent. In the early days of crypto, the big fear was mostly physical, right? Kidnappings, basically. And actually, we've seen a recent surge of those involving high-profile crypto executives. But scammers adapt incredibly fast. They've basically taken a vintage financial fraud and given it a very sleek digital spin, the Rip Deal scam. They take the psychology of an intense in-person meeting and they completely weaponize it digitally. Moving right along to part 2, the digital RIP deal. Historically, a RIP deal was something you'd see in traditional commercial real estate. You'd meet up in some luxury hotel over in Europe, inspect a literal briefcase full of cash, and the fraudsters would use sleight of hand to swap your real money with counterfeit notes, a totally physical substitution. Well, the digital rip deal completely replaces that physical sleight of hand with a devastating on-chain architectural exploit. So instead of swapping briefcases under a table, they're manipulating smart contract permissions to drain your funds right in front of your eyes. Which brings us to part 3, the 4 stages of the heist. Think of these 4 steps as a literal true crime blueprint for the modern age. We start with the institutional illusion, move right into the collateral requirement, trigger the actual trap during the technical verification, and then end it all with the structural dissolution. So let's walk through these one by one. Okay, stage 1, the bait. A rip deal relies heavily on psychological manipulation. The scammers project this aura of immense institutional wealth just to lower your defensive thresholds. They use super professional, legally dense boilerplate documents. Actually, in a recent documented case, they offered an incredibly lucrative 20% original issue discount, which is essentially this massive upfront discount on a $1 million loan facility. I mean, they fabricate high net worth lender profiles, they use stolen credentials, they build these immaculate fraudulent corporate storefronts, they make you believe you've just landed the absolute deal of a lifetime. So now you're psychologically committed to this massive payout, right? Boom, the hook is set in stage 2. The fraudsters casually introduce a condition. They tell the victim, hey, you just need to demonstrate some liquidity before we can release this multi-million-dollar wire. For instance, they might mandate that you establish a corporate crypto wallet and pre-fund it with 100,000 USDT, which, is a stablecoin tied directly to the US dollar, supposedly to cover the loan's interest obligations. And the absolute genius part of this? They falsely represent this as a secure, self-custodied escrow where you maintain total control over your assets. So you think your money is perfectly safe because, well, it's sitting in your own wallet. Now, hold on a second. Before we hit the really critical 3rd stage, we need to pause and look at the silent weapon being used here. ERC20 Smart Contract Permissions. The absolute crucial point here is understanding what an approve function actually does. When you interact with DeFi, you sometimes sign permissions that grant third-party code the authority to execute an unrestricted spending allowance from your wallet. Guys, it's literally like handing a blank, signed check to a complete stranger. You aren't sending them the money right that second, but you are absolutely giving them the right to pull money from your account whenever they feel like it. All right, armed with that context, let's look at stage 3, the rip. This is where the magic trick actually happens. Under the guise of independently auditing your newly funded wallet, like maybe asking you to verify it on a site like Etherscan, they calmly guide you through a quote-unquote proof of wallet control. But here's the catch. They have completely weaponized the web interface. They induce you into signing a malicious transaction payload. It's basically hidden code disguised as a totally routine check. You think you're just proving you own the wallet, but you're actually modifying those underlying ERC20 permissions we just talked about. Without ever needing your passwords, you've just granted them an unrestricted spending allowance. They execute an on-chain pull command, and poof, your funds are instantly gone. Which brings us to the chilling final step, stage 4, the disappearance. Literally immediately following the digital extraction of your assets, the criminal enterprise executes an instantaneous teardown. I mean, the blackout is absolute. The sophisticated website you interacted with, completely scrubbed from the internet. The corporate emails, deactivated. Every single one of your subsequent inquiries is going to permanently bounce. They systematically sever every possible investigative vector, leaving you holding an empty wallet and a stack of completely worthless digital paperwork. So, part 4. Spotting the red flags. How do we avoid this? What are your ultimate warning signs? Well, first off, be incredibly wary of unsolicited, high-value investment offers that just magically appear in your LinkedIn inbox. Watch out for groups that mandate in-person meetings, particularly over in European luxury venues. Be highly, highly suspicious of any request to pre-fund massive collateral into a wallet for a loan. Absolutely never engage in a mandatory proof of wallet control process that asks you to sign transactions. And finally, if you are meeting in person, just keep in mind that scammers have been known to use venues with strategically placed cameras to quite literally watch you access your wallet. Let's wrap up with part 5, Go Crypto Victim Services. Now, we've talked a lot about prevention, but we have to face reality here. If you think you've already been scammed in crypto, the absolute most critical thing is to not panic. I know it's hard, but panic just leads to rushed decisions. Instead, you need to immediately seek professional, structured support to understand exactly what just happened on the blockchain and, more importantly, how to document it. And this is exactly where our sponsor, GoCrypto.org, really steps up as your essential ally. Their entire mission is focused on improving crypto literacy through educational consultations and solid blockchain reporting. And they're incredibly effective at it. In 2025 alone, they have successfully served 60 crypto fraud victims, providing them with dedicated education and vital documentation services right when they needed it most. They are going to offer you very clear, actionable recovery steps. It kicks off with a free educational consultation where you can confidentially share your experience and your transaction data. From there, they use professional tools to create structured blockchain analysis reports. And this isn't just a spreadsheet of data. It's educational case support that organizes complex transaction timelines. That is exactly what you need to clearly present your evidence to attorneys, exchanges, or law enforcement agencies like the FBI's IC3 or the U.S. Secret Service. They even offer ongoing blockchain activity monitoring to keep an eye on where your stolen assets are moving. So, I want to leave you with this somewhat chilling question. Are your digital assets truly secure, or have you just not met the right scammer yet? The sheer sophistication of the digital rip deal proves that even the most cautious investors out there can be manipulated by architectural exploits that are disguised as standard operating procedures. But by understanding the anatomy of these heists, recognizing those red flags, and utilizing powerful resources like GoCrypto, you can turn that vulnerability into an impenetrable defense. Stay educated, stay vigilant, and thank you so much for joining us for this explainer.